Hey, you guys. Want to welcome you to my first inaugural AMA, and we're gonna wait a little bit to get the room filled up, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys are asking some great questions. I look forward to answering them. Shout me out, bro. Rich C. Rich Cowboy wants a shout out. We got Jim Cozy, Matt, Joe, Wheelwell, Kenny Fleming, Joe DeBono, Storm God, PLPICZ Photography. Some people in there. So far, so fast, CRX1. Where do babies come from? Nice. Good job, Red. Alex Ruiz, Ron S. Tell Dan I said hello, Ron. Mixed breed. Hey, Callie. Pure Luxury Tent. Jeff Cater. Pierce Flynn. What's up, Pierce? Are you in Hawaii? Johnny the Mill. Carlos Casanedo. Sure High School in the house. My wife tuned in to hear me talk crazy about her. Good, thank you. Michael Watson. What up, Sean? Michaela Kovacs. My daughter's on here too. I gotta watch what I say now. Claudia. Thank you. Can we move the screen over a little bit? Because it's covered with a camera now. Just a little bit. No, the other way. More? A little bit more because it's blocking. That way I'm not. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Charles Boyle. All great questions. You guys got some really good questions. What's up, Tony? ATD repping here. Peeps Entertainment. Cool. Well, thank you all for joining my first inaugural AMA. I see a bunch of great questions coming in already, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm Myles Kovacs. I'm the president and co-founder of Dub Magazine. I also co-founded Lift and Leveled Magazine, Drop Stars Wheels, TIS Wheels, and in the past, Tough Guy Records, Out of Control Records. We produced El Presidente de San Café con Leche. I was doing Cypress Hill Smokeout, and one of the co-founders of that, which was a large pro-marijuana festival back in 1999. And then also done various nightclubs and, just kind of hustled. I got kicked out of high school, went to continuation school, started working at a company called Modern Auto in Whittier, California as a delivery driver. And from there, most delivery drivers, they just kind of drive a vehicle and get upset and not be happy. I actually went and said, you know what? I have this opportunity to learn about this industry that I love, how to make money, how to go out there and do what I call extraordinary things. And they gave me the opportunity to learn while I was getting paid. And that's something I look at, in everything I do in my life. I call myself the practicing professional. I go out there and feel like I'm practicing. So today, I'm not doing this just to do it. I'm doing it so I could practice, so I could be better. So when you want to be better, you're constantly learning. The things that I've done in my life to be better is I go to therapy, I get coaching, I get mentoring, I get as much help as I can. If I'm going to do something, I ask for a lot of advice, because whether it's consensual validation, meaning they're telling you that you're on the right track, or sometimes we just need somebody to help us open our eyes beyond the trees that we're running in. So I have a good network of people, and that's something that's different from before. Before, I thought I knew everything, so I wasn't, open to kind of getting these things. And as I progressed, I'm hungry and I'm thirsty for knowledge. So thank you to my coaches and my business partners and our team with Dub and the staff and everybody. We have an extraordinary business. I've been on a TV show called Secret Millionaire on Fox. I've done Blue Collar Millionaire, just a bunch of different stuff. We did a TV production on MTV called The Dub Magazine Project on MTV2. We did a Spanglish show called Dub Latino on Mundos. So various backgrounds: music, video, TV production, publishing, designer. I'm a designer of wheels. I have over 150 wheels that I design in the marketplace currently. I invented the Spin Tech, the spinning wheel adapter, Lorenzo wheels, TIS wheels, Drop Stars wheels, and I've designed for KMC, Motegi, American Racing, a bunch of different companies in the past as well. So I've been pretty blessed, and one thing that I'm proud of is I just never given up. It's like you can't lose if you never give up. So just keep on pushing. Somebody asked what was my I guess, famous, most important quote, and I would say it was Albert Einstein. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it was stupid. And that's just kind of the way I felt when I was in school back in the day and stuff. I was like a fish out of water, and it was just angry, So just kind of going through all of those feelings personally and stuff. And my personal journey, when I was born, I was only born with one testicle. So I very rarely talk about it. It's very shameful for me. But at 4 years old, I'm being wheeled away and strapped down to a gurney with the bright lights on it. So these bright lights actually give me anxiety. Don't let the team know, right? But, strapped down to a gurney, going in, getting the surgery, and I didn't even know what was going on. I look at my mom, I'm like, Mom, where are they taking me? And I'm fighting the nurses and the doctors, and, and they just strapped me down and just took me away. After that, my mom explained to me that it was because I was only born with one testicle, and they wanted to see if the other one was in there so it didn't become cancerous. And I'm just like, holy shit, and what the hell just happened? So it's like at that point, I just lost kind of trust in humanity. It's kind of like I didn't know what was going on. So it was frightening. So till this day, when I see bright lights or stuff like that, it just clicks me back. And that's why I need therapy. That's why I need coaches, and that's why I need people to help guide me, even though I've been able to make millions of dollars and do business at a really high level with Fortune 50 and Fortune 500 companies. I still have to put my legs, my pants on one leg at a time. I mean, I'm still human. I've been through a lot of different traumas. Another trauma that I have is I was diagnosed with the eye disease at age 11, so I was almost legally blind. At 11, by the time I was 24, I lost all my vision in my left eye, and then I had to get a cornea transplant. And then just this past year, 2018, I went blind again. So I got another cornea transplant, so my eye looks a little lazy. It's not lazy, it's actually very spunky, but it's hurt right now. So, going blind, I guess the second time's much easier, right? That's what I told the doctor. And, it's one of those things where, a lot of people know me, they don't know what I'm going through or what I've, what happened in my lifetime or whatever. And it's just, it's hard, so you're kind of like what I call dying inside. So a lot of times I'm dying inside, but it's like Saving Private Ryan when Tom Hanks is there and he's in the bunker and he cries for a little bit and then he gets out and fights the war. That's how I feel every day. It's just, I try not to let people see me cry or to see me hurt, but I've learned to kind of expose that and let it out, because that's what helps me in the process of what I call like my closure, right? I'm closing the loop. I know what hurts me, and I'm trying to close the loop on what's hurting me, so, just like Albert Einstein and all these brilliant people. I mean, they're all pretty crazy as well. A lot of people applaud them for their genius, but they all, were drug addicts, or they had, just a very difficult life. Brilliant people, have a lot of different issues. So I just kind of thank God every day, and I'm happy that I'm able to do things like this and really contribute to the world and in life. So let's see. Charles Boal, you said, I have a new product idea for my line of work. My design changes the aesthetic of existing products. Any words of advice for bringing a new product to market? Great question, Charlie. So every time I brought a new product to market, there's a couple different things I do. One is make sure that your product is actually different than what's out there. And what I'm saying different, meaning something that you could like patent. So whether it's a design patent or a utility patent. So if you're taking an object and say I'm taking this microphone and I'm going to wrap something around it to protect it, that could be a utility patent because I'm adding something that adds value to it. Those are really good patents to have. Also, too, to look at what's out there in the marketplace. And just because you design something that's different doesn't mean it's always going to work. So kind of do your homework there. One of the things I also do when I'm designing something or showing it to the marketplace, people will always say, make that, I'll buy it. Make that product, I'll buy it. And then I would do it, make it, and nobody bought it. I'm like, dude, something's wrong here. I asked 1,000 people, so I should have sold 1,000 of these already. But the reality of it is everybody's going to say make it because they just want to be positive to you. So now I tell them, do you like it? And they say yes. I tell them, give me your money. If they're not willing to give you their money for what you just designed or made, then it's not worth making. So if you go to like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, any of those kind of sites, you can launch concepts on there. And if people are not willing to pay, you don't make it. So it's a really, really cool platform for people that want to launch, whether it's new products and things like that. Let's go to another one. Haitham, you see any, I got my partner Haitham Haddad here. I also got Walter and Gabe. They're both employees of Dub in the hot seat. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask those. Let's see. Joe DeBono, I understand that you could protect definitely the design of your own products, but when it comes to wheels, how do you protect with a utility patent? Well, on the same question, so if you're adding elements to the wheels, like you're adding a certain cap or something that changes color or electronics, then you could add a utility patent on there. Otherwise, it's a design patent. And the unfortunate thing is people copy it or try to copy it. You can enforce the design patent, but all they need to do is change it 20% and bring it to market, and it's basically their design. So it's a really tough one. Then that's where branding becomes really, really important right now, because everybody's making everything, everybody's looks good. It's like kind of like the car companies. If I was to debadge every single car out there, you wouldn't even know which car is which because they all look the same. And when that happens, it's all about branding at that point, and also technology. What's the difference, with your products, because the quality and everything's about the same. They're asking if they could hear me. My sound went out. Yes, I can. Yeah, I guess people can hear me. Sorry, guys, if we're having technical difficulties. American DJ and Elevation Lighting's in the house, right? Nick V Media, Lewis, Caesar, Chino Rodriguez, Ron, Eddie Paez. So Cesar Garcia, how do you manage your time between different businesses and give them all 100%? That's a great question too. What I've been able to do is actually kind of departmentalize my life. So I would be able to leave work a little early and go home and spend time with my kids and then put them to sleep. And then I'll work till 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning and then get back up again and do the whole same day again. So I got the most work done when everybody was asleep. And that's just the reality of it. So when you're running multiple businesses a day, you could also change it up and say, okay, on this day, I'm going to give 100% to this business. And then I'm going to kind of push everything else to the next day and then give 100% to that business or putting out fires. But it's really just kind of constantly pushing, and just trying to get as much off of your plate as you can in one single day. As far as budgeting time, if you go and just kind of put a simple list together. I tell people all the time, put a list together with all the times on there of the day and you fill it in. I slept for 2 hours. I slept for 10 hours. I eat for an hour. I take a shower. It takes me an hour to get ready. And you'll actually see how much time you waste a day if you actually document that out. And I know people are like, hey, certain days I'm crazy and I don't do anything and this is it. Yeah. But your average day, I guarantee you're wasting about 5 to 6 hours a day not being productive. Hey, Myles. Zane Clark says, hey, Myles, what are your thoughts on what can be done with young people excited about automotive? And I think, Zane, the answer is very clear, right? Is the youth is starting to become engaged more in automotive in their own way. So it's going to change. It's going to be a lot different than kind of you and me and, the boomers and Gen X, Gen Y and Gen Z. They're going to engage it a little bit differently. But what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a really good kind of thrust of a sport compact coming in, and it goes in cycles. It's like a 5-10 year cycle as the trends go on. So I see that kind of the interest starting to come back a little bit more. I think it's really going to them with content to their platforms. Letting them get involved. I mean, Gen Y is, by 2020, is going to be 70% of the workforce in the U.S. So, I mean, if they're not already on it, then maybe it's not going to exist. That's just the reality of it. But I do believe that it's going to come around, and when it comes around, it's going to be, really fast and furious. Get it? So we have Michael Rios, Sean Arnold. Sean Arnold says, what does Walter do now? He doesn't do much. He still works here, but he doesn't do much. No, Walter's a very hard worker. I met him when I was 17 years old at a backyard after party. Actually, not a backyard after party, after a club at some girl's house in Pico Rivera when I was 17. So, yep, that's how I've known him. Randy. Good. Thanks, Randy. Imanaka says, I still look the same from back in the day. Thank you. I self-sabotage myself. So getting ready even for this particular talk, like I was, my sabotage is Mexican food. So my wife knows that too. So my wife's tuned in. Every time I try to diet, she's like, let's have Mexican. Because you can't have a salad when you go to a Mexican restaurant. I'm sorry. It's not happening. I'm a wet burrito guy, So I had Mexican all week. And that's when I know I'm self-sabotaging. I know for a fact. And I've been thinking about this live and just feeling really nervous, but you know what? I'm here, and you just got to push through it. Just got to keep on going. Callie Malakote, what are your thoughts on sponsorship and our brand ambassadors in this industry? So I think just not only just in the automotive aftermarket or auto industry, it's across the board. I mean, I think sponsorship, brand ambassadorships and stuff it's constantly changing. and you're only as good as your product. I see a lot of products very successful and people think it's because of their marketing. But when you have a successful product, it actually markets itself. So in the music industry, they say you can't pay to make a hit happen and you can't stop a hit from happening. So I still believe that in this marketplace, the right product at the right time, you're going to have success. Johnny the Mill. How do you navigate the politics within the industry or even dealing with other volunteers who may be there for the wrong reason? I don't care if you're here for the right, wrong, indifferent reason. I love you, right? Let's make this happen. So it's kind of like anybody that's willing to be there, whether it's for the wrong reason or not, I want you there. How do you navigate the politics within the industry? You just have to have a common goal. If everybody's focused on one kind of way to go, it helps the mission. It's like the Dub brand. The Dub brand is the company and the brand, but Dub actually started a movement. And that's what made Dub so popular, was the movement, everybody doing it. So if I was at a rave and I started dancing, I'm the crazy guy dancing by myself. And then somebody comes in and dances with me, right? And then next thing you know, 3, 4, 5, now it's 20,000 people dancing. Who started that movement? Me, because I was the first one, or the second one that joined me? It's the second one that joined me. The second person that was brave enough to join me started that movement. So same thing with Dub. So it's all the people that joined me on the journey started the Dub movement. And when you start a movement instead of a brand, you're going to be more likely to be successful. Shout out to Walter. Walter's more famous. You should have your own channel, Walter. Luis Vivero says, shout out to Walter. Haven't seen him in a while. PL Picks Photography. What advice can you give a younger youth who feel like they can't get a business started or they're already doing it and they can't do it? So, the easiest advice is, I'm working with this couple just recently, and they 19 and 20-year-old, they just lost their 1-year-old son to SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and they're devastated, and they're just lost, and they wanted to start a business. And I'm like, what kind of business? And they said they want to sell bionicos. And I said, okay, what do you guys do? Well, and she's like, I make this creme con frescas, and it's with strawberry and cream and this and that, and it's really good. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just go and sell it? I can't do that. What do you mean I can't? I said, just go put it in cups, go to events and walk around and say, hey, you want to buy this for $5? And if they like it, you're going to build the business. So they went to a car meet and they're selling it in front of their car, and they sold like 8. And then she sent me photos, and she's all happy. And, the husband sent me photos and this and that. And then they did another one. They sold like 12. And I was like, okay, cool. Then they just did one the other day, and they sold 80 cups. They're in business. You know why? Because they actually went out there and did something about it, and they're making money. But even when you're starting a business, you don't necessarily need to make money, because you're learning how to sell it, what people like. So it's really about getting out there and getting that experience is going to help you make better decisions in your life when you're starting your business or taking your business to the next level or going into a new direction. It's like you got to be an expert in the field where you want to go into. Let's see. Jamie Camarina. I want to get culture out of those that don't know about low riding. I learned how to read by reading Lowrider magazine. So I couldn't read that well growing up because I was blind. But I was enthusiastic enough about lowriding that I actually learned how to read by reading Lowrider magazine. So shout out to Lowrider magazine and everybody there. It's the culture is going to be there, regardless. You either grew up with it or you didn't, and that's what's beautiful about culture. And cultural is infectious. Cultural items and things like that. So worldwide, if you go and look at like the essay kind of look that they have in Tokyo and Japan and all that stuff, it's like right on. Their street life is probably better than we have here, So, I think that it's about, just continue to let people know about the history of low riding and kind of what it's done in kind of car culture and just in life in general. I mean, if Lowrider magazine and the Lowrider shows and stuff didn't exist, Dub magazine would not exist. I actually modeled our business after Lowrider, you know, so that's how much of a fan I am of their business. And we just said, okay, we're going to do this magazine. We're going to shows, events, licensing, and we modeled ourselves after Lowrider. Let's see. Big Jake, huge fan of Dub. Thanks for taking the time, Myles. Cool. Thank you very much. The Tire and Wheel family. Let the poison out, Myles Kovacs. That's one of the quotes that I usually say. It's like, you know, everybody that has negative things that happen to them, they have two options. They become bitter or they become better. And, you know, so all these negative things happening, I just want to focus on being better. And letting the poison out. You know, it's like you have poison just sitting inside of you. So by me sitting here talking about my hurt and my pain and all these things actually really helps me. It's very therapeutic. So think about it. You have all this poison inside of you. Every time you talk about it, you're like putting it on the table. You feel lighter. You know, I was just talking to somebody about that today. We're talking about in life, we have all of these things. It's like thoughts. They're heavy. They weigh a lot of, you know, poundage, right? So you have all these thoughts and all these feelings and stuff. And the things that happen to me that are the worst, or the things that I've seen or whatever, those are like 10,000 pounds. They're huge. And they're just sitting on my shoulders and they're holding me down, right? And then I forgot to take out the trash. That's like another thought, but that's a smaller one. And these other smaller ones and this and that, right? Well, we think they're smaller. So we let all the little ones pile up while we're fighting these big ones. But the reality of it is, if you weigh thoughts, they all weigh the same. So whether we think it's big or small, it's still weighing on you the same. So we have all of these small things, thoughts, weighing us down. So these big ones, we're not going to ever remove those. They're going to be there for the rest of our lives. We're going to be fighting those for the rest of our lives. But if we could remove all the little ones, then we're going to feel lighter, right? And that's really what it's about. Get the poison out, feel lighter so you can move. Think of yourself as a boxer. If you're sluggish and you're heavy, you're going to probably get your butt kicked. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be light, you want to be nimble, you want to be at peace with yourself. And the only way to do that is to deal with the demons, right? You got to deal with the demons of all the things that happen and stop being embarrassed or shy or having guilt or shame. That's just, everybody has that, you know. And I'll ask this. What's the difference between guilt and shame? Guilt is when it's broken. Shame is when I'm broken. And when you have sexual assaults, you have molestations, you have all of these shameful acts that are committed, especially on children, or, you know, sex offensives, or all this other stuff, or, you know, you're, you know, mentally abused, physically abused, you're going to have a lot of shame. I'm broken. And when you have that, shame is what creates suicide and all these other things. Shame, not guilt. I don't think anybody's ever killed themselves over being, you know, like guilt. It's all shame. So if you have that shame and you feel like you're broken, that's rule number one. Whether it's in business life or whatever you're doing, you need to really focus on that and say, look, I'm building my house. And I need to start with the foundation, and it needs to be strong. So I got to build that up. And you know what? You got to go back there, and it hurts. It's a very painful process, but when you get through it, it's super powerful, super powerful. So, you know, I try to work on helping people go through that journey and connect their kind of what I call bringing out the hammer. So I'm driving over here and I'm like, dude, I got to do this, man. What if I mess up? And just making all these excuses. And that's called bringing out the hammer. I'm actually hammering me down, trying to put myself down. So people that bring out the hammer need to connect the hurt with the hammer. Because when they realize, wow, I'm doing that because of this happened to me, and now I'm bringing out the hammer because I feel like I don't deserve it because I have shame. Once you do that connection, it's much easier to process it and kind of let it go and go forward, you know. I tell people, if you're holding so tight to the past, you'll leave no room to hold on to the future. So you have to open up, let it go, all of those things. And I get it. It's much easier said than done. But if you start now, the process will be done, you know, in a heartbeat. If you don't start, you're going to sit there 4 years later going, had I started, I'd been done now. I'd have been that much further down the road. So when is the best time to start a business, start anything in life, or do anything that you want to do? It's today. You take that step today and you start, and you learn what not to do. Everybody wants to think that they know what to do, and you know what? God bless everybody, including myself, on that. But it's what not to do that's going to actually make a difference in your life, in business, or whatever it is. So going through it, figuring it all out, right? So you got to reverse engineer. You know, so think about Apple when they came out with the iPhone. You already know they designed iPhone 10, but they didn't bring it out because the technology, the processing, the battery life was not at that point to bring it out. But they were also smart because they knew that they had a roadmap. They reverse engineered it, and then they gave it to us in pieces. The problem with us, if I'm going to design iPhone 10, I'm going to design iPhone 10, and I'm going to put it out, even though I know technology is not going to work. I know that the battery life's not going to work, and it's going to be priced out of price. It's not going to have 4G, even though it's a 4G equipped phone. There's no 4G system. Like, I'm going to do that. You know why? Because it's my ego that wants to come out with the iPhone 10 first, not my business mind. My business mind would say, hold on. Let's launch with one, and let's hook them, and let's drive them all the way to iPhone 10. And as technology gets better, you start adding more technology into the phone. So you're solving that problem. That's what people want. But our egos won't allow that. So a lot of times we over-design products, or we overcomplicate things because we want to make us sound super intelligent. I mean, that's just it. So keep it simple. When you keep it simple, and when you have problems, go back to the basics. And I do that every day. It's like, oh my God, just go back to the basics. Back to the basics. Where did I start? How did I start? What's going on? Where I'm at? And then really appreciate the journey. You know, stop to really appreciate the journey. So we have Brian Huff talking about our team, amazing team with John, Beasy, everyone on the same page. What advice would you give somebody to get everyone on the same page as an associate? Yeah, great question, Brian. So from a business standpoint, it's about really being, you know, just very open, treating people the way you want to be treated, but most importantly, lead by example. You know, I don't like people that go, you know, do as I say, not as I do. You know, I've been in a lot of business situations like that, and even personal relationships, and that sucks, you know, because it's like, dude, like, why can't we just go and be on the same kind of mission together? And the unfortunate thing is everybody's in a different place. So everybody has a role in your life and my life and everybody's life. So you got to find the people that fit the role that you need. And a lot of times we think we could get somebody to step up into that role. It's sometimes that you can, and sometimes it all depends on how much time you have. You know, another thing is you got to hold their feet to the fire. If you hold people accountable, they're going to better themselves. If you don't hold them accountable, they're going to just drift around and do whatever they want. You're never going to be happy, but you're not holding them accountable. You know, if my employees cannot do their job, they should be fired. I mean, it's just that simple. If they can't do their job that we're paying them to do, they shouldn't be here. And that's something that you need to really focus on that side when you're building a team. And my dad said, I hire guys that are worth $5 and I pay them $3 or something like that back in the day. And I said, dude, Dad, go after guys that are worth 30 and get them for 15. You know, so sometimes you just got to up the quality of people that you're looking at. I mean, that's just it. You know, and try different things and different people. And most importantly, understand their strengths. If you put a guy that's a good marketer in a sales position, he might suck in sales. You take a guy that's a great sales guy and make him a manager, he's going to suck as a manager. So try to keep people in their core position and compensate them with titles and also financial, right? So you could have a 4-star sales guy or a 4-star promoter that's been promoting his whole life, but he's getting compensated, he's happy, he's living well, and he's the best at his work. I mean, that's really what it is. You know, another thing is I tell people, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Everybody goes, well, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a rapper. So they're out there in the studio rapping or playing basketball. But if they would actually continue to draw or do other things that they actually are really gifted at, so find out what your gift is and put the time into that. So Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant and LeBron James have one thing in common: over 50,000 hours of practice. So if you put 50,000 hours of practice on your craft, what your God-given talent is, you could be the best in the world. But instead we're like, no, I really suck at that, so I'm going to put all my energy into what I suck at, and I'm going to be mediocre. You know, that's just the bottom line. You're just going to be mediocre. So GarageBound LLC Hello, Bello from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Pierce Flynn, both personally as a company CEO, how do you define and use the difference between your head and your heart? Wow, great question, Dr. Flynn. That's going to come from a doctor, definitely, because how do you define the use, the difference? Okay, so I mean, I think the key thing right now is my heart, I always thought was weak. And, I just didn't want to follow it. And my intuition was my heart's telling me this, my head's telling me that, and there's a battle between what I call my heart and my mind. So in my mind, there's this vicious beast, this animal that lives in my head that's not me. And whatever I focus on, it consumes. Well, during mental crisis and stuff like that, you focus on yourself, your mind's eating you alive, So, it's one of those things where you have to understand that balance. So to me, I had to go through this kind of whole epiphany. So I had my midlife crisis at 25, panic attacks, anxiety, almost committed suicide and, just really at a low place. But when I was at that point, my life was actually doing pretty well. So some of my darkest times have been when I've actually been the most successful in business. And I think it's because the expectations and also the hunt, right? You get to a certain point in the hunt, it's like, damn, we just killed it. The hunt's over. What do you mean? So it's like really finding that hunt. And do you like the hunt or do you like the kill? You got to figure out what you're like. And if you like the hunt, be a sales guy. If you like to be the kill, be a F&I or a sales manager in like a car dealership. So one is going and hooking people and selling. The other one is closing, right? So you have to understand kind of what your gift is on that side of it. But going back to the battle between my heart and my mind would always tell me things that are going to harm me, in my opinion, right? Have you ever craved a broccoli sandwich? No. No one in here? You ever craved a broccoli sandwich, Atham? Huh? No? Neither have I. But you know what? We crave things that are harmful for us. It's like, why am I craving a J&S burrito at 3 a.m. or, you know what I mean? Or a Tommy's, double or triple chili cheeseburger or, why the hat, right? Chili cheese fries. Why do you crave all that stuff at 3 a.m? Because your mind is actually trying to get you to harm yourself. It wants you to be sick and it wants you to hurt yourself and all that stuff. So you got to understand kind of what's going on. So I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and, I'm at, just went to a big meeting with Anheuser-Busch. And what was very interesting about that meeting was I'm sitting there in this huge building, Anheuser-Busch. They have like eagles statues and koi fish and a big pond. And I'm freaking out, man. I'm like, dude, I'm going to check myself in the hospital. I'm having massive anxiety attacks and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, like this is so difficult. I walk into the boardroom at Anheuser-Busch and there's probably like 10, 15 guys in the room. And what was amazing about that day was I was falling apart. And I looked on the table and the guy handed out these magazines. And on the cover of USA Today on the money section, I was on there. And I was just like, oh, crap, this is crazy. And then the main guy said, whatever the guy on the money head on the front page of the money section wants, we want to do it. So I walked out of there with a multi-million-dollar deal. But I was dying. And just kind of, and then they're all like, hey, let's celebrate, and, this and that. I'm like, dude, I'm having anxiety. And the sales guy from Anheuser-Busch, or the account executive, was there, and he's like, you're fine, dude. I go, dude, didn't you see me drink goddamn 2 gallons of water? Like, I drank 2 pitchers of water in that meeting, By the way, I have to go to the restroom now, right? But I'm going in there drinking 2 gallons of water. He shows me this USA Today, and it's like a big thing, and we do this deal. And then I'm like, dude, just, if you could take me back to the hotel, like, I'm not right. So he takes me back to the hotel, and I get in there, and I go, and I'm staying in the Millennium Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. And I'll never forget this day because I went upstairs. I opened the door to my room. I sat down on my bed, and I'm looking out the windows. And it's like, you see the St. Louis Arch, the Mississippi River, and there's a church right there with this bronze cross. And like literally outside of my windows, this church with this bronze cross. And I didn't grow up religious because I thought religion was weak. Now I accepted God and Jesus in my life and stuff, and I feel very blessed and powerful for that. But at the time, I was very ignorant about, God or, the Lord or anything that has to do with. And it's not so much that I'm very spiritual, so don't look at me and say, oh, he's just this or that. I'm a very spiritual human being, so I have my own kind of opinions and topics and stuff that I'll talk about in another feed. But going back to that, I'm sitting on that bed and I'm just like falling apart. And I knew I didn't want to kill myself because I know what that felt like. I mean, first suicidal thoughts I had was when I was 7 years old. So you're talking to somebody that's very complicated mentally. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, I can't live like this. Like, this is, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, then I started praying. I'm like, God, please help me get through this. Please, I beg of you, please help me. And I'm sitting there and it's like, it's really tough and it's eating me up. And I'm like, then I get pissed off. I'm like, God, if you want to take me now. Like, I sat there and I got pissed and I'm like, take me now. Like, let's do this. I closed my eyes for about 10 minutes and I was still praying and talking and I was still pissed off. And I opened my eyes up. I was like, shit, I'm still here. That would have been a perfect ending, right? If I would have had a heart attack or something right there, it would have been like, what happened to the dude? He locked down a multi-million-dollar deal and just left us, God bless his soul, that dude, that bastard, whatever. But I'm like, damn, I'm still here. So I sat down on the table and I wrote notes. I said, this mind, this vicious beast, this animal that lives in my head, that's not me. And whatever I focus on, it wants to consume. So during that time, I'm like, yo, my mind's eating me alive, and it was so tough. And then boom, I got this thought, right? God sent me this thought at that time when I needed it. And it was like, my mind's this animal, this beast that lives in my head, but it's not me. So I created separation between my body and my mind. And then I sat there and I was like, I get it. I know what's going on. So a panic attack, in my opinion, is because your heart is the king of your body. It's number one. My mind is the prince. It's number two. It's a secondary ruler of my body. Well, out of spite, ego, and envy, my mind is jealous of my heart. So when I don't listen to my heart and my heart's like, you're tough, you don't have to worry about this, you're just, whatever. And I'm just like, I'm tough, I don't care, right? That's when my mind, if I'm not partnering with my heart and what my thoughts are, I'm in denial of what my heart's telling me. Then I would go and my mind gets strong and it will attack my heart. So I was like, holy crap. Like, I guess that's what a panic attack is, right? I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So from that day forward, I said, I'm no longer going to not acknowledge my true feelings. When my heart's telling me you're stupid, you're ugly, you're fat, you're going to lose your house, everybody's going to die, all these things, I sat there going, yeah, hell yeah, all that shit's going to happen, right? You just lay it up to it. And then I started doing what I call these mental push-ups. I go in front of the mirror and I'm like, you're stupid. You're dumb. All the touch points that people used to tell me that used to make me want to fight them, you're a loser. You're going to lose everything. And people always go, don't be so negative to yourself. It's like, shit, I'm getting pissed off when all these other people are telling me these things. Let me numb it up for myself. You're stupid. Then it's like you get kind of like, God. And then what I realized at that point is when somebody says something either positive to you or negative to you, we have the tendency to go, no. Like, dude, can't you take a goddamn compliment? I just told you something nice. And you're like, no, right? Then they're like, F you, and it's like, F you too, right? But what I learned from that is if I just say thank you, it erases the negativity out of whatever was said. So if they're like, F you, I'm like, thank you. Then it's like, who cares? Hey, great job. Oh, thank you. Instead of going, no, it wasn't me. It was those guys, because I'm taking something that's positive and turning it negative. Why? Because I feel like I don't deserve the compliment. So that's the first indicator. If you can't take a damn compliment, something's wrong with you, right? So you need to start digging in the crates, figuring out exactly what's going on so you could put the circle together and say, okay, I'm doing this because of this. It's all connected, right? Everything's all connected. So for you guys, really think about that. What is it that's going on that's causing you to feel this way, and connect it with the past? I know people don't want to, and I know that you probably don't want to, but once you're able to do that and you have a good understanding, you'll know exactly why you do the things that you do. And hopefully you want to know that, and eventually you will as well. Maybe you're not ready for it. Everybody is at a different place in life. Some people are now, some people are 10 years from now, some people are 10 years before now. I mean, it's just one of those things. No people are the same, and everybody reacts to things differently. Let's go to another question. Garage Brown LLC. How do you know when it's time to grow? the best way to create sustainable growth. Okay, so this is a great question. I mean, how do you know when it's time to grow is when your business is busting through the seams and you're making so much money, you got to figure out where to put it. That's when you have to grow your business. Until that point, all it is your ego trying to grow because you want to have a bigger building or you want to do this. If you get the money and you have the money, that's the best time to actually grow your business. But you could also grow your business by subcontracting things out, whether it's a labor, packaging, distribution. It could be a license. So you don't necessarily have to fund the growth of your business in order to participate in that. So licensing, if you look in the fashion industry, most fashion brands don't even make their own stuff. They license almost everything out. And they pull in somewhere between 5 and 20%, 15% royalty on the total business without having a warehouse, any receivables, one customer, and it's very easy. So when you think about scaling, it's not necessarily just about buying bigger buildings and doing all that stuff, which is great if you need it, but it's really functioning and figuring out how to best and efficiently grow your business without hurting yourself financially if, God forbid, something turns, right? So the first time I went to Daimler Chrysler was in Detroit, Michigan, and we're working on a deal with Chrysler to launch the Chrysler 300. And this was probably like 2004. And I walked into Chrysler, the headquarters. I was like, holy crap, this thing looks like a mall. Like escalators all over, windows everywhere with cubicles. I'm like, dude, this looks like a mall, like a shopping mall. And then I got in the meeting room and I'm like, dude, this thing looks like a shopping mall. And they're like, it is. That building was built when Chrysler thought they were going to go bankrupt. So they built the building to be a shopping mall just in case they went out of business so they could actually convert it to a shopping mall. That is smart, right? I don't know about you, but I walked through there like, that is smart. Plus, this shopping mall is going to be badass because it has all these underground basements and tunnels and all this other stuff where they hide all the concept cars and things like that. I mean, it's an amazing building. But I sat there and they said, yeah, this, we built it like that just in case we went bankrupt so we could actually sell it to somebody as a shopping mall. I was like, God. So think about how when you're building this business out or whatever you're building, what other purposes can you actually use, it for in the future, whether you're leasing it, selling it, buying it, whatever it is. So that's something to be really, really, focused on. People are asking if this will be uploaded later. Yes. And if I throw some F-bombs and some stuff, because I do usually, we'll try to put out an edited one so you can show your kids, Ron S., love to have you talk to the foster kids I work with. They need your message. Absolutely. Let me know. Just DM me. Dinner on me, broccoli sandwich. Yeah, Ron, that's what I need. Are you calling me fat? Monica Lorraine. She's in here. She's actually an astro coach. And she does planetary stuff and things like that. She's amazing. Yes.
Can you explain a little more about the mental push-ups?
So Gabriel is asking me about the mental push-ups. You mind if I call you Gabriel? Gabe Sanchez. So basically mental push-ups are exercises that I've been kind of developing to help me kind of just push through kind of whether it's a block or whatever it is. And a lot of it is just looking at yourself in the mirror and talking it through. Because whenever you talk it through, it just, I don't know, for some reason, it just kind of feels better. But another thing is while you're doing the mental push-ups, I want you to take yourself out. So if anybody out there is a gamer, you have 3 different game modes, right? So you have this mode, and then this mode, right? So in life, when we're in this mode. We can't see shit. We're just looking forward like that. Well, what I want you to do is focus on being in this mode so you can see yourself. So think of it like you're watching a horror movie, right? You're like, dude, don't open that door. Don't. Oh, dude, I told you not to do it, right? So I want you to watch your life unfold like that. So you could go, Myles, stop. There's something right there. Stop. Then you're able to see things a little bit differently, right? So that's part of the mental push-up. So exercises, take yourself out of the trees and try to view it from different angles. The other one is just really just going in there and being like ready. My kids, when they're young, I know my son's in the chat room too. I saw him, Andy. We went to go meet Chris Brown. And I told them, what are you going to say when you meet him? Oh, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. I'm going to do this. And okay, cool. Let's go. You guys are ready. Let's do this. We get into it. We went to his hotel, met him in the thing. And they're like, I'm like, dude, say something. Totally froze. You know why? Because they didn't mentally prepare themselves, but physically prepare themselves. There's a difference when you're meeting somebody in your mind and you're going through it, or you're saying you're going through it. So it's kind of like if you watch professional athletes or like Olympians and stuff, when you watch them warm up, they're visualizing everything they do. I visualize everything that I do, even making products. I visualize the machines coming down, the molds. I visualize the whole process when I'm designing, so I could design the best product for the process as well, right? So you're constantly looking at that. But, think about it. It's like you have molds and this and that. Your visualization is out there. And so to me, it's like I met people in my mind a million times. So when I actually meet them, I'm going to actually know what to say. So that's just being prepared. Because when you get hit and you're not prepared, then it's like everything's out the window, right? So another thing to think about is when you're meeting people or doing stuff mentally, don't just sit there and think about all the things that could go wrong. Really focus on all the things that are going to go right, and focus on how you can make it better. But think about it this way. It's about self-improvement. How do we make ourselves better? Rich people, they have big libraries, and successful people have big libraries. Not so rich people have big TVs, right? Why is that? Because they think they know everything, so they just want to enjoy themselves and watch TV. There's no enrichment going on. They're not learning anything. But the successful people, they actually want to grow. They're the ones that go to Tony Robbins. They're the ones that go and pay for all these services because they want to be better. And we're sitting here like, shit, we know it all, homie. Shit. We're not going to have to pay for shit. I'll just ask my homeboy. Like, that doesn't work. If you want to be better, you have to push yourself. So successful people go after what they want. Not successful people try to avoid what they don't want. So let's stop trying to avoid what you don't want. Because guess what? What you want to try to avoid is right next to what you actually want. So you just got to push it through, right? Once you get through that pass and you push it through, you're going to feel so much better about yourself. And it's all little steps. It's like going back to that story earlier about selling the desserts. You just got to go out there and do it. You're going to learn so much about trying to sell it than anything you could ever do, more than you could ever think of. That's really what it's about. You just got to get in there, Just put your foot forward and do it, Berto baby, good evening. Garage Brown says thank you. Berto baby, how did you get Dub started? So Dub is basically a culmination of my work at the rim store, me designing rims, me doing the music industry, doing Insider Magazine, doing nightclubs, parties, DJ management, music production, everything kind of all together. But what's interesting about how I got the idea to start Dub was I was at the Magic Convention, not like a magic show, but a fashion convention in Las Vegas called the Magic Show. And I was at a hotel, and it was a real late night, and I saw this auto auction on TV. It might have been like Barrett Jackson or something. And they're like, this car is going to sell for $75,000 more than the value of this actual car. And I was like, what car is that? Mercedes-Benz S-Series, S-Class, Rentec, Lorenzer, Rentec engine and suspension, Lorenzer body kit rims. And this thing was really nice. It was a white one. And they're like, this celebrity's adding all this value to this vehicle. So I'm watching, I'm like, damn, who's the celebrity, And they're like, and I remember there was like a pause, and they're like, oh, this car is going this and that. And then they kind of pause. The celebrity is Alan Jackson. And I said, who the is Alan Jackson? Like, I don't know who the hell that is. Well, it turns out he's a country music singer. So thank God for Alan Jackson. And thank you for the concept of starting Dub Magazine. Because without you, wouldn't exist. But yeah, Alan Jackson gave me the idea to start Dub Magazine. Because I said, if this white boy country guy's celebrity that I never even heard of could add 75 grand value to this car. Imagine if we could get Snoop, or we could get these guys and all these celebrities and stuff that we knew to actually endorse the wheel industry or the car industry like that. So one of my goals was I wanted these celebrities to endorse the automotive shoe industry, like the wheels, just like Michael Jordan did for Jordan in the real shoe industry. I mean, that was really the goal. And guess what? It worked. It worked. So thank God for that. But yeah, that's how it all started. And then I was able to convince a lot of great people to follow my vision. So people want to give me the credit. It's the people that joined me, my team and my partners, that actually helped start the movement and the vision. So thank you guys for that. You know, you can't do it alone. I mean, I don't care how badass you are, who you think you are. If you're not learning, taking yourself to the next level, and you're not developing a great team around you. And the best way to develop a team is get people you need, not people that need you. Get people that make you better. You know, just like my wife, I think she might be still on here. She said I can't talk about her, but I'm going to say something nice for a change. Okay? This time. You know, somebody asked, when is it the right time to marry your girlfriend? And I was like, well, I don't know, man. You know, there might not be a right time. I think we're going on 15 years. So I've survived 2 7-year itches. So thank God, right? Thank God. I'm a champion, right? But the reality of it is, you want to marry somebody, or you want people in your life that make you better. And she made me better. She supported me along the way, even till now. Hey, I need to fly to Europe right now. I got 2 hours to pack and I need to get to the airport. She's not going to be like, you promised me you're going to go do this and that. She's going to be like, okay, let me book. Do you have a car? Do you want me to go pack your stuff? Did you eat? She's going to support me all the way till I get on that plane and then I leave. Then when I'm over there, she'll start bitching at me. But at least she lets me go first, right? Thank God for that. I see you, okay? But, you know, you want good people around you. You can't build it by yourself. I don't care what anybody says. Is there any piece of business advice you receive that you consider pivotal in your career or life? That's from Dana Zamaloa, marketing genius, by the way. She is awesome. What up, Dana? You know, it's ironic. The chairman of the board of SEMA, Wade Kawasaki, I was in a car with him driving to Mike Tyson's house when we shot Mike Tyson for the 3rd episode of Dub Magazine. And he's like, dude, you got all this energy. You seem like you got it all together. But let me give you some advice. And he said, stay focused. And that was the biggest thing. And I was like, fuck you, stay focused, right? Like, who the hell are you? You know, but I'm sorry I cuss. But that was my answer. And then I thought about it after, like, stay focused. Okay, stay focused. And really what he meant was stay focused on your vision and who you are, right? Not, so as I progressed, I lost focus of who I was. You know, I thought if I had 15 cars and a big old mansion that, you know, I'm super Myles, right? But really I was Myles that was unhappy. That was one of the darkest times of my life, you know? So I think that was the biggest advice and the best advice from him, was really just stay focused. The other piece of advice I got was from a therapist. When I got kicked out of school, they made me go to the therapist or whatever. Who needed a therapist when you're 16? You know, but I'm just joking. Everybody needs therapy. And therapists don't change the way you feel about something. It changes the way you feel about the way you feel. And that's really about it. You can't change the way you feel about something, but you change the way you feel about the way you feel. Okay? So therapy is important. So another advice that I got was from a therapist, and he said, I'm crazy, man. I think about all these crazy things. And he said, dude, it's all right to think about those things as long as you don't act upon them. Acting upon them makes them illegal. So I do a bunch of crazy shit in my mind. Trust me, right? My mind's out there, and I can't even help myself sometimes. It's like my mind just goes, and it's like, dang, right? But it's like the analogy is, you could have a brand new Lamborghini, and you want to speed, but you know if you speed, you're going to pay the price. That's just it, right? So now it's like, if I want to go drive fast cars or whatever, I go to track. I go to Nuremberg. I go, you know, to somewhere else where I could actually do it and not get in trouble. Why waste the time? Think about all the money you're going to spend in lawyers and all this other stuff when you could just fly to Europe and go drive 150, 200 miles an hour on these streets that are Autobahn and stuff that's made for it. So you just got to make your adjustments, you know. It can't just be like, I'm badass and I'm going to go self-destruct myself. I mean, come on. It's not smart. The other one was, it was in high school from a science teacher. And we're talking about going hiking. And he's like, we're going to go hiking. I'm like, I'm afraid of snakes, bro. I ain't going to go hiking. And he's like, oh, we're going to go. And what can you do to stop a snake from biting you? I was like, shit, I'm not going. That's how I'm going to stop a snake from biting me, right? Shit, I'm not going to be there. Interesting fact, though, is the snake usually bites the third person in line. So I usually make my wife be the third person when we go hiking. She doesn't know that yet, so don't tell her, okay? The first person scares the snake. the second person pisses off, and the third person gets bit, right? So don't be the third person when you go hiking. That's just my word of advice, right? But that's only part of the great advice I got from him. But the crux of the advice was, there's nothing you could do to stop a snake from biting you, but what will save your life is knowing what to do after the snake bites you. And that's it. So I have this quote. It's, if you walk prepared, meaning you know your shit, you'll never walk in fear. And if you walk in fear, you'll never be prepared, right? So you have to be prepared. And that's what I notice whenever I'm afraid of something. I really focus on, the fear of it. And like, I was afraid of flying for a long time. So what did I do? I went and got an instructional flight, and I went and flew a plane around. That's it. You just got to attack your fear. And then you realize, I was never afraid of flying. I'm afraid of dying. Everybody's afraid of dying, but nobody wants to admit it because it sounds weak, okay? So everybody on here today, let's just sit down and go, we're afraid of dying. We're afraid of not being good enough. We're afraid of not being able to support ourselves, our kids, our lives. We're afraid that we're not going to be good enough for anybody else. We're afraid that we're not good enough for our parents and this and that. And that's just the bottom line. That's what we all go through. It's a fact. But once you actually can admit that, that's part of the mental push-up, you're able to start building yourself up going, okay, I am afraid, but everybody should have this fear. It's absolutely normal. Then you're like, hey, it's almost like that whole thing. It's kind of like, we're all screwed up, but guess what? We're screwed up together. That feels much better, right? So you're part of this crew, this group that's kind of going on, and you just got to push it through. There was a famous, back in the day, there was a famous speaker, and he was just like, I forgot what his name was, but he's like, if you're trying to sell a house and it's not selling, sell it anyways. You're trying to build a business, but you can't build it anyways. You're trying to do something, just, and he said, just do it. So I think that's where Nike got their campaign from, was from this guy's speech. But the bottom line is, why stop ourselves? Mentally, we killed more dreams than anything in the world. Like, we stop ourselves every day. And you know what? I want to see everybody successful. That's my goal. So that's it. There's no preconceived notion. Everybody thinks, oh, what is this agenda and all that stuff? I just want to see people successful. I want to see people be able to live their lives in whatever way that they want to. And like Tony Robbins says, do what they want when they want. I mean, that's just, it's powerful. But you'll realize that most people think they need to do it as being an entrepreneur. You can, or you could do it in different ways. But being an entrepreneur means sacrificing all the time you have just to work. You're not, maybe making millions in the business, but are you really making millions for yourself? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the reality of it. And most entrepreneurs fail. So I tell people the biggest advice for people that want to go and start a business is, don't quit your day job until your hobby is making more money than your day job. Try to figure out how to hustle and do both. You know what I'm saying? And keep your options open. I mean, you could still work at a job and invest in real estate, invest in stocks and annuities and all these other things that can make you a lot of money. So it's not just about, I want to stay focused on that. I mean, I'll probably do another thing about podcasts or live about, getting your money to work for you versus you working for your money. Very wealthy people get their money to work for them. They're not working for their money. They know how to manage, but guess what? You're only as good as your team. If you look at Steve Jobs, he has the best people in the world. Elon Musk, they hire the best people in the world. They hire people they need, not people that need them. And that's something that, as an entrepreneur, you have to really be focused on. Everybody wants to save the world in every hurt person, but the reality of it is, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And when people are not willing to take the help to better themselves, then you got to go work on somebody else that is. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that could actually take your advice and use it. Justin Marsden, awesome as always. You don't hike? Awesome, Cynthia, LOL. And hi, Cynthia, you just busted him. Julian Barros. What's up, Julian? Chino, right, just do it. If you fail, get up. And, I tell people, I get up faster than I get knocked down because I've been knocked down my whole life. It's just part of the thing. It's like peaks and valleys. You go up and down, up and down, up and down. But just because your financial life has peaks and valleys doesn't mean your costs, they could be more like this instead of like this. And that's how you're going to be successful, Now I want Ordonez. Yeah. And Does anybody know what a JNS stands for? Kenny Fleming, goal setting, short-term and long-term. What are your thoughts on goal setting? I think goal setting is super, super important. It's kind of like getting in your car, and if you don't have you have a GPS and you don't put your destination, you're not going to get there. You're not even going to get close. So you got to actually set a goal, and your goal should change as kind of what's going on, but you have different goals. You have your end goal, your pre-end goal, it's your medium goal, your short-term, your daily goal, your 5-minute goal. And it's going to change as the path changes. So you got to be a little flexible and not so rigid on when people try to set like a goal is different than like an actual like date. Like, oh, I'm going to set that date and that's it. I mean, that's sometimes very unrealistic. So a goal is something that you're trying to achieve, and it's like a GPS. It's telling you to go this way, and then you got to reroute. Sometimes you got to reroute. You go back. But what's interesting about that is when I talk to people, they're like, the GPS of life told me to make a left, and there's a wall there, so I crashed my car into the wall. I'm like, dude, like, seriously? Why do you crash your car into the wall? Because the GPS told me to. It's like, come on. That's where you have to take that and say, you know what? I'm going through this. I'm going to figure this out. And your goal could constantly change as you evolve. Your life could constantly change as you evolve. I mean, I look at it as life's a game and everything's temporary. So if you think with those mindsets, and it's like, if I lose that, I mean, we live in a throwaway society. Back in the day, they used to like fix TVs and stuff like that. Now it's like phones, right? Throw that away. Like, I mean, it's just crazy now. It's like everything's just, we throw it away. It's just a throwaway society, Chino Rodriguez, my first time listening to you. But as I told you, bud, no one knows it all. Just as long as you catch up when you're dealing with whatever it is now. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? It's an evolution. Life goes on, and we just got to really, understand what's going on in our life. You know what I'm saying? You got to work hard, no shortcuts. Alley Girl 75 said that. It's just one of those things. I mean, think about our lives and kind of what we're able to achieve. Ranch Pratt, looking forward. What are your plans? I'm sure you have a cool or something coming down the pipe. A lot of plans, a lot of opportunities. I mean, Dub has been, a huge portion of my life. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, but this is not, I wasn't put on earth by God just to pimp cars. I feel like I'm put on earth to actually make a fundamental difference, and in education and also in mental crisis and in life and things like that. So I'm writing another book right now that's going to be coming out shortly. I have a whole story about my book fiasco and the first time I did my book. And a lot of people don't know about that, but another thing is having an exit strategy. We talked about GPS and stuff like that. So going back to the businesses, you have an exit strategy. You're going to sell the business. You're going to grow the business and, eventually sell it or whatever it is. I mean, I learned a lot through just life and business with investments, mergers and acquisitions and businesses. I mean, you could make more money selling your business multiple times than you could actually do running it. So, right now we're working on potentially selling our businesses again, doing different things, everything else. And, it's like you have to have multiple plans. You have to have multiple streams of income coming in. But, as Wade Kawasaki told me, he's my mentor, is stay focused. Stay focused. Build what you have and stop distracting yourself from achieving what you need to achieve. A lot of times we want to spread ourselves too thin because we want ourselves to fail so we can have an excuse on why we failed. Stop making excuses and let's start making money. I'm laughing. Was it? Oh, my niece, Alexa Kovacs, says, hey, Uncle, can you talk about the first major business goal you hit? How did you get there, and how did you continue pushing for better? So I think one of the major business goals kind of for us was, just being able to start a magazine in a climate. We're in a recession at the time. And you know what? I don't remember being in a recession. Do you guys? I mean, dude. It was in 1998, 97, 98, 99. We're in a recession. And I read about that after. I was like, I don't remember that. I thought man, we're good, right? But I also didn't know what Bloomberg or Newsweek or any of those things were. True story, I was at the New York Detroit Auto Show, and Bloomberg wanted to interview me. So I did an interview for Bloomberg, and I called my wife and said, Boomerang just interviewed me. Why the hell's a Disney Channel here or with Nickelodeon? Like, what the hell's going on? Why do they have me here? I had no idea what it was. I didn't know who, any of these motivational speakers or anybody was. I mean, it's just sad. When you're sitting there and you're just so in your box and in your bubble, you have no clue. And when I started traveling and actually doing business, things just kind of opened up for me. So going back to the Myles Kovacs, I think the biggest goal was starting the business. I mean, that was very, very difficult, took a long time, and, just very tough. But what people don't understand is how many times was our company almost bankrupt, or how many times did we have issues, or what kind of money did we owe, personally to the IRS, or all these other things. I mean, it's like, wow. Everybody just sees it as like, oh, it's instant success. It just goes overnight. It's like, no, trust me. There's a lot of crazy stories along the journey that were not so great, and it continues. There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. So to me, it's about stacking the good days and the bad days. If you have more good days than bad days, you're doing pretty good. If you have more bad days than good days, you got to change your life. You got to change your strategy. The definition of insanity is trying to do things the same way and expecting a different outcome. I mean, that's just it. Everybody does the same thing, and they really expect a different outcome. So I think going back to Alexis' course, starting the business and staying in business, I think those are the two accomplishments, and really understanding the financials, not just like P&Ls and stuff like that, but money. How does it work? What does it cost? What is the percentage of interest? How does that work? And all these other things. I mean, it's once you actually learn financial literacy, you can make really good decisions. And I didn't know that probably till I was like 35. I'm 45, so I'm getting old. Yeah, Wade is awesome. How do you feel about working with other companies that offer capital? It's one of those things where if you need capital, you got to figure out kind of where you're going to get it from. But most importantly, I mean, when we first started Dub, I went to go apply for a loan, and I was at, whatever bank or whatever it was. And, they're like, okay, you're here, you want a loan, here's your financials. What are you going to do with the money? And I sat there going, I don't even know. Like, I'm here asking for a loan, and I don't even know what we're going to do with the money. Spend it, buy a boat, go party. I don't know. So, until you really know what you need, as far as financials and stuff like that, I mean, you just, getting money from people, it's going to cost you money. So you got to look at the value. But if it's money that could build your infrastructure to a point where you could get a multiple on a sale that you're not able to get today, and that's your end goal is to sell, then raising capital is a great opportunity. Again, it's what's your goal. If your goal is to build a business and keep it for the rest of your life and hand it down to your kids, then maybe a capital raise is too risky. Maybe it's just, slow and steady. So, hey, Kevin. How has your work-life balance evolved throughout your career, and what advice do you give to others to maintain the optimum balance? So when you're young, go balls to the wall. Just work hard, be on the road, everything else, and I missed a lot of my kids' younger years and stuff like that. And I have regret about it, but I knew that if I wasn't able to garnish that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it's like pay me now or pay me later. So you do it when you're young. Robert Kiyosaki said, you spend your health chasing wealth, and then you spend your wealth chasing health. And that's just the bottom line. So you got to put the time in when you can. I think it's when you're younger because you have less to lose. You're spunky. You could stay up for 3 days. Now I fly around. I'm like, I have jet lag for like a week. It's like I'm getting old. Trust me. I mean, my wife laughs at me all the time. It's like I take naps on the couch now. Who does that? Naps on the couch? Well, it depends on how much I ate, though. If I eat a lot, I take naps on the couch. If I'm not eating a lot, then I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But I like to self-sabotage, so I'm trying to eat a lot, It's, so So I'm going to go for a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap this up so everybody could get back to their lives. If you had one piece of advice for somebody wanting to start a business, what would it be? It's basically going to be go out today and start your business. If it's in the music industry, throw your music up on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and if people aren't buying it, then you're probably not good enough. If you're selling, oranges, go on the side, the corner and sell oranges. If you're selling parts, products, whatever, just go out there and try it. That's the key. You're going to learn so much about starting your business by just starting it. Everybody's like, you need a business plan, and you need, to understand finances, and you need a LLC, and you need to start a business first before you legal up. And I know it's bad advice, and you know what? I'm not a lawyer, so don't sue me after if you fail. But the reality of it is, start your business by just starting your business. You could always legal it up after. Dub did that. We didn't legal up in the beginning. We didn't even know, we weren't even smart enough to figure it out. So those are all things you can learn. But I didn't I can't have a patent on this hold me back. It's like, just put it out, dude. Put it out. Go make some money. Financial literacy is key. Yeah, absolutely. Alex says, what is your long time kind of goals, right? So my ultimate goal is to make a difference in life, and that's it. It's that simple. I've done well personally, financially, business-wise, and stuff like that, but I honestly feel like I haven't even scratched the surface. I'm going to be really focused as I pursue in my later years of definitely making a fundamental difference in education, making a fundamental difference in mental health. I want it to be okay for people to feel hurt. I want people to connect on a higher significant level and not judge people because they're insecure. Just remember this. When somebody's pointing a finger at you, there's usually 3. I have this one it points back to, so I say 4. But usually I have 3 fingers pointing right back at you. So we have the tendency to pick on people and about the same thing we're unhappy with within ourselves. So stop doing that. Focus on being better. Help people get better. And you could see a monumental change in your life. And today, it's a mindset change. So tomorrow, let's go into it with just a really open mind. Open your heart and your mind. Allow people to get close to you. When I first started, I was like a concrete box with a beautiful flower in it, right? I know that sounds kind of weird, but I put up this box around it so nobody could see it. And then what I had to do was chip away at the box so people could actually see the flower. Then I was able to see it for myself, and I said, you know what? That's what life's about. But before I used to live just blocked. Now I live invited. So as I invited you here to ask me anything, nobody really asked me any personal questions either. It's kind of funny, but we'll save that for next time. I want to thank everybody that came out and just bless me with all these wonderful questions and this support and all the sharing on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And thank you very much. Tune in next week as we go over. I want you guys to send me topics and stuff that you want to go over. If you guys want to ask me anything, I'll do it again. So be vocal. Let me know what's going on. Go ahead and share this throughout the world. And thank you again for participating in my inaugural Ask Me Anything live stream. Oh, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.